Well, there's 1,300 different chemicals that are released that stimulate your immune system, that cause regeneration and repair in the body.
Really?
And those 1,300 chemicals are profound chemicals that actually lengthen telomeres as well. It has the greatest pharmacy in the world.
Yes.
So now it turns out that 10 minutes of gratitude a day releases a chemical called immunoglobulin A, the primary defense against bacteria and viruses. 10 minutes of anger or impatience or frustration or fear turns on 1,200 different chemicals that causes the body to mobilize energy and suppresses the immune system. So then the person who's feeling gratitude and those elevated emotions in the morning, and you check their blood values of IgA, immunoglobulin A, at the end of the day, it's still elevated. In other words, you just took the shot. You took the flu shot, and it's going to protect you against bacteria and viruses. Now here's the truth. Germs don't make you sick. We make ourselves sick. And if you're in a company where everybody's getting infected and they're all sick at the same time, it's not the bug. It's they're all stressed and they're all susceptible. They're called opportunistic bacteria because they're waiting for an opportunity to proliferate if your immune system is compromised. So people need to know the truth about this because they're programmed into believing that germs make them sick. So there's no germ out there with your name on it that's waiting to attack you. We have just as many microorganisms in our body as we have cells. So it's just the way in which we manage our internal states. The ultimate truth is oneness, that everything else is a diminishing of that. So if you understand biologically where oneness occurs, it occurs right here in the heart center. And what if you took 10 minutes out of your day, 15 minutes out of your day, to rest your attention in that center? Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. To cultivate an elevated emotion, like gratitude, or joy, or the joy for existence, or the love of life, or compassion, and you felt it deeply. Do you know that the moment energy moves into your heart, the field around your body expands to 9 meters wide? When you're living in survival and you're living in fear and anxiety and anger and hostility and violence and sadness and guilt, you're drawing from this invisible field and you're turning it into chemistry, and the field around your body shrinks. Now you're more matter and less energy, you're more particle and less wave, and you don't have any energy to actually for long-term building projects like growth and repair, or to create anything you want in your life. Turns out that the heart has a magnetic field, so it's like dropping a pebble in the water. And if you can sustain that emotional state, now you are dropping pebble after pebble and it's sending ripples out. The more profound you feel, the more passionate, more enriched you feel, the bigger the stone you're dropping in the water, the bigger the wave. Now, all frequency, all energy carries information. So that's the magnetic charge. So what is the information? It's the intention. It's the mind now. So then you then send an intention on that wave. You have a clear intention, and that information is being carried on that frequency wave. Now you're broadcasting an electromagnetic signature into the field. And so then when you're living in survival, you're always trying to control the outcome, force the outcome, predict the outcome. And when you do that, you're in your own way because you're matter trying to influence matter, and it's going to take a certain amount of time. We call that three-dimensional creation. Fifth-dimensional creation is the opposite. You're actually not going anywhere. You are the vortex that's calling the experience to you.
Wow.
So then when you combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion, when there's a vibrational match between your energy and that potential in the quantum field, it's like taking a tuning fork and hitting the tuning fork, and you have another one, and that one is going to produce the same harmonic. Now there's a vibrational match. And the longer you can sustain that energy, or better yet, the faster the frequency, the more elevated the emotion, the faster in time it happens. And teach people how to do that properly. There's a new science emerging called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity says that you're in fact changed biologically by every thought you think, every new thing you learn, every new experience that you create, every new choice that you make, Every new dream that you dream, your brain begins to fire in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations. And whenever you make the brain work differently, you're changing your mind, because mind is the brain in action. So most people then, at a certain point in their life, they stop learning and they start feeling. And when feelings become the barometer for change, we'll always talk ourselves out of greatness, because when you change, it means that you're going to have to come out of your resting state, number one, and number two, you're going to have to feel a little uncomfortable. So the moment we start to feel uncomfortable, most people go, oh, I want to return back to that familiar identity. So if you have a thought, every time you have a thought, you make a chemical in your brain. If you have a great thought or an unlimited thought, you turn on a set of circuits in your brain in a very specific sequence and pattern that produces a level of mind that signals another part of your brain for you to begin to feel exactly the way you were just thinking, great or unlimited. If you have a negative thought or an unhappy thought, you turn on a different set of neural networks and a different combination and sequence that produces a different level of mind. It turns on a different blend of chemicals for you to feel exactly the way you were just thinking, negative or unhappy. Now, the moment you begin to feel the way you think, because the brain is in constant communication with your body, you begin to think the way you feel. So you begin to feel the way you think and think the way you feel and feel the way you think. And the cycle of thinking and feeling over time conditions the body to memorize that emotion better than the conscious mind. Whenever the body knows better than the mind, that's called a habit. Habit is when the body is the mind. One of the things about substances is that it actually helps to change chemistry in the brain and body, so there becomes a chemical dependence on it at that point. But the person who wants to change has to want to change. That's the first element. In other words, no one can make you change, but you have to find it in you to really see if this is what you want to do. And I've studied people over the last 12 years. Why is it that one person, an old-timer, can look at his x-rays and see a spot on his lungs, and the doctor will say to him, hey, George, that's a spot on your lungs. It's nothing now, but if you keep smoking, it will be. And that guy just takes his cigarettes, throws them in the trash, and he's done the next day. How do you explain that? He made the decision, and the decision was an experience, and it began to rewrite his chemistry and his biology. Hey, how can a person who moves into a state of religious ecstasy, a state of absolute faith, drink strychnine and not get poisoned by it? It's a decision. People then who actually want to make the decision to change have to make the decision with firm intention.